Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dom's Daily Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom, and before we get into this video today, please do me a solid and go down below and subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any juicy videos that we come out with in the future. In today's video, I'd like to start off with a new series called Offseason Preview. Basically, the basics of this whole series that we're trying to do is go deep into every team, going from worst to best, recapping the 2019 season, going through which three free agents I think that they should re-sign or should do some or let go. Three free agents targets that they should go after, and top three players in the draft that they should target in rounds 1 through 3. In today's video, we are going to start with the worst team in the NFL, and that is the garbage dumpster fire that is Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals in 2019 had an outstanding record of 2-14 and were last place in the AFC North. The only wins that they were able to come up with were against the Jets in Week 13 and the Browns in Week 17. Now, going into the season, no one really had high hopes for the Bengals. Everybody knew that they were going to be a pretty bad team. I mean, I don't think anybody expected them to do anything. 2-14 was basically a tanking record. Some people thought they might do a little bit better, maybe 6-10, but I don't think it really mattered what their record was. I think they basically were tanking for a purpose halfway through the season. They had nothing to play for. Might as well. So I think the Bengals would like to basically forget about 2019 and move into 2020, because with how bad this team is, they have a lot of things that they're going to have to focus on if they want to become relevant again next year. They got problems at offense and defense, and their head coach, they've able to basically find someone for the future. In my opinion, I think Zach Taylor could be a good coach for the future. But they got so many problems on the offense and defense that they need to figure out. And in this video, we're going to dive deep into their offseason and some of the things that we should go after. So the first thing we're going to look at is the free agents that the Bengals are going to have this year. Now, they have a whole long list of free agents that they have that are going to be this year. If you guys want to know every single free agent, basically every no-namer or people who the hell have even heard of, you can look it up online, just look at the Bengals free agents. But in today's video, I'm kind of going to go over the top three, basically three players to look out for that the Bengals should look at when they're either thinking about keeping or letting go. Now, looking at all these players, we definitely want to look at the salary cap for the Bengals. They definitely have a pretty hefty amount of salary cap, but the one thing is, though, is that they're definitely not going to want to get rid of everybody and strip the whole roster, because some of these players they might have to keep. So the first player that we're going to talk about, not a really too big of a name, but still pops out there a little bit, is Darqueze Dennard. He is the cornerback for the Bengals. He has been on the team for a pretty long time. He's a pretty decent corner. He was pretty decent back in 2016 and 2017. Back then, the Bengals thought that they had a solid cornerback that was going to help him towards the future. But then going into 2018 and 2019, he just really hasn't lived up to the hype at all and has not been really a solid corner for them. Hasn't had an interception since 2017. So the thing about Darqueze Dennard is, do you keep him or do you let him go? If Darqueze Dennard is looking for a pretty hefty deal, which I highly doubt he will be, you definitely have to let him go. But if you can get him on basically a small contract that's a pretty good length with a decent salary, I think you got to look at keeping them. You can't strip your whole roster. You got to at least have some bodies on the roster. And I think Darqueze Dennard would be a decent body to have on the team. And then sooner or later, once you're able to fill his position, you can let him go. Now, going into the next position is the tight end, Tyler Eifert. Now, Tyler Eifert is an elite tight end that used to basically take the league by storm. He was up there in the names of Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Zach Ertz. But then injuries finally got to him and he started to decline on the downhill after season. The one thing is, though, is that this season was one of his first seasons in a while where he was actually able to play all 16 games. Now, he didn't have a big season, but the thing is, though, is they did have a bad offense, so you can't really blame him. But the thing is, though, is about Tyler Eifert is he definitely has the talent. With his talent, it's kind of hard to say. I think the Bengals should keep him. I mean, with the elite talent that he has, with whoever they have playing under center, I think he would basically be a good receiving threat for whoever they have. That's not someone you really just want to give up. And with him playing all 16 games this season, he might be able to move on and not be able to get injured and be more durable. Now, the last player on the list, and this is actually the biggest name on the list and is probably the best player on the Bengals, is A.J. Green. Now, A.J. Green has had a lot of stories surrounding him this whole season. The Bengals basically had him hurt. He was supposed to come back week 2, didn't come back, was supposed to come back week 6, didn't come back, was supposed to come back week 10, didn't come back. He ended up not playing at all. And the thing about A.J. Green is when he's on the field, he's a top 5. He could be a top 5 receiver. He could be in the names of Hopkins, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, all those big names. But the only thing about it is he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And that's the thing, is if you're a fantasy owner, you definitely know how much struggle it is to have A.J. Green. Used to be a first-round pick, someone that everybody wanted. But then as soon as he started getting hurt, he started hurting a lot of fantasy teams and basically costing a lot of people their seasons. Now with A.J. Green, this is a definitely keep. A.J. Green has, like I said, has the talent to be a top 5 receiver when he's healthy. And I just don't see the Bengals moving on from him. If you let a guy walk with that much talent, you're not doing your job right. Like, they should definitely keep him. My opinion, I thought they should have traded him in the season. You're going into rebuilding mode. You're basically not going to be relevant for a little bit. You're still going to be building around a lot of young pieces. Why not get a first-round pick? A lot of speculations and rumors came out that teams had offered a first-round pick to A.J. Green, but Bengals just didn't want to accept any offer for A.J. Green. I know he has the talent, but he's getting into his 30s, and sooner or later he's going to be too old where he's not going to be able to produce for the Bengals. Now, that's the top 3 free agents that I think the Bengals should keep or move on from. I thought they should keep all 3 players that I have listed. Darqueze Dennard, if you can get him on a good budget. If not, let him go. Tyler Eifert, I think you should keep. He's been proven this year that he can play all 16 games. He has the talent, and he can help whoever is under center for the future. And A.J. Green is an elite receiver. You can't let someone like that go. They should definitely sign him. And he's made it even clear in an interview that he wants to be a Cincinnati Bengal for a while, and he wants a new contract, which blows my mind. All right, so going into the next topic, we are going to talk about 3 free agents I think they should target. Now, there might be some big names out there. Some of these might be big names, but I kind of wanted to go into the basics of names of players that they could really go after, that they would have a chance at. So with the Bengals, they have a lot of messes. They're going to figure out some of those messes in the draft, but some of them you're going to have to figure out in the free agency. And I think one of the players they should definitely go after is Kelvin Beachum. Kelvin Beachum is a current Jet offensive tackle. He used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The thing about Kelvin Beachum is he is a veteran. He could basically provide a lot of leadership to the offensive line. He's really good. He can provide very solid play for whoever's under center. The Bengals need to address the O-line. If they want to keep whoever's under center upright and be able to make plays, they need to start working on the offensive line. And I think Kelvin Beachum is the right way to go. Because ever since they got rid of Andrew Whitworth and he went to the Rams, that whole offensive line has been a mess. So they definitely need to look at that. Now, another thing about the Bengals is their defense. They used to have a really hard-nosed defense and used to be really good back in the day. But ever since they gotten rid of a lot of those players, their defense has probably been one of the worst in the NFL around the Dolphins and the Giants. One player that I think could really help them a lot if he was to hit the free agent market is Danny Trevathan. Danny Trevathan is a Bears middle linebacker. He used to play for the Denver Broncos. I think Danny Trevathan would be a perfect fit with the Bengals. He provides that veteran leadership that they need on the defensive side of the ball. They don't really have someone to step up. They have Geno Atkins, who is a beast, but they need someone in the linebacker core who can definitely step up, make the signal calls and everything. The thing about him is he can play both the run and the pass. He's good at tackling behind the line of scrimmage, and he's good going back in coverage, guarding running backs and tight ends. Now, the thing about Danny Trevathan also is he kind of brings back, he doesn't have the dirtiness, but he kind of brings back the leadership that Vontaze did. Back in the day when the Bengals are good, Vontaze was one of the leaders on that defense, and he really helped that defense play hard-nosed, tough football. And I think Danny Trevathan would be a perfect fit and can kind of bring that leadership back to the Bengals defense. Now, last but not least, this is a player that could not hit free agency, but there is a chance he could. I think he would be such a stud if he was to go to the Bengals, and I think the Bengals would get a huge steal in free agency, and that's Corey Littleton. Corey Littleton is a middle linebacker for the Rams. He has been a stud this year, has really broken out as a good linebacker. He's only 26 years old, so he's only going to improve. He's not old. He can really help out. You can get him on a good deal. He's great in coverage. Last year, he was ranked as a top coverage linebacker in the season by PFB rankings. I think Corey Littleton would be a really good player. He might be able to develop into the leadership on that defense, but the Bengals need some help in coverage, and I think Corey Littleton would provide a huge spark on that defense. Now, those are the three players that I think the Bengals should target in free agency. You have Kelvin Beachum for the Jets. You have Danny Trevathan, who's on the Bears. And you have Corey Littleton, who is on the Rams. So, without further ado, let's move into our last topic. The top 3 players to target in the draft. Now, we are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, who do have the first pick in the draft. I am not going to be discussing the first pick in the draft, just because it's more than likely that they're going to go after Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the LSU quarterback who is about to play in the national championship game against Clemson, who threw 8 touchdowns in the semifinals. I think Joe Burrow the Bengals should definitely draft him. It's a no-brainer. If they pass up on him, I don't know what they're thinking. So we're not going to talk about Joe Burrow because it's almost an obvious that they're going to draft him and move on from Andy Dalton. So 3 players I think outside that they can get in the later rounds, in the second and third. Here are the top 3 players to target in the later of the draft for the Bengals. The first one that they could target, I think I say his name right, Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle for Louisville. He has freakish talent. He's 6'8", 360 pounds, was a stud last year for the Louisville, and I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Bengals. Like I said earlier, the Bengals have a lot of struggle on offense. If they were to go out and pick up Kelvin Beachum and move him to one side, they can go and draft Mekhi Becton and easily move him to the other side, and they can really start to improve the offensive line. They're going to have to improve it piece by piece, and I think getting those 2 would definitely help. Now, another thing about the Bengals is I think they should keep A.J. Green, but the thing about him is his injuries. You can't rely on him being on the field 100% of the time. Tyler Boyd has been such a beast, has helped out a lot, but the thing is he can't do it all by himself. The Bengals also have John Ross, who is a speedy threat, but the guy can't run a route to save his life. He can't get open. All he's known for is his speed. So the thing about the Bengals is they need to go out and get a late-round receiver. And I think the perfect fit would be Tyler Johnson, wide receiver out of Minnesota. Now the thing about Tyler Johnson is he kind of has the same comparison as Tyler Boyd. He's a well-rounded pass catcher who could really help them. He could be a good third-round pick. I think they definitely should go after a receiver. Because like I said, they can't rely on A.J. Green to stay healthy, and Tyler Boyd needs some help. So Tyler Johnson at wide receiver out of Minnesota would be a perfect fit for the Bengals in the 3rd round. Now the last pick in the draft that I think they should go after is Malik Harrison, linebacker out of Buckeye. Now the thing about Malik Harrison is he has really good size at his position. He's 6'3" and 240 pounds. The Bengals need a lot of help on the defense. They need to go after a young stud in the late rounds. And they're thinking about going after Danny Trevathan or Corey Littleton. They're not going to get both of them. But if they get one of them at least, that would be a plus. And then they can also plug in Malik Harrison outside of whoever they get in free agency. He can make tackles outside the box, and he can stand back and cover. So he'd be a really good dual threat on that defense. Now that is the video for the Cincinnati Bengals. That was the whole offseason and who I think they should go after in free agency, who they should keep or re-sign, and the top 3 players they should target in the draft. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any suggestions for the channel, please leave it down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. All the support is appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.